beautiful.
Hello, lovers of the world. This is Cinta speaking. I love listening to new music. It's really fun to find something new to obsess over, whether that's a new artist, a new album, or a new song. I'm always trying to chase that sense of joy and triumph of finding something new to love. It's once again time to reflect and rank every album and EP that I listen to. Now, to be honest, I took a hiatus sometime around August. Since then, I've been trying to retroactively put all of the albums that I listen to from each month that has passed already. I'm recording this on December 31, 1:35 a.m. And the last video I posted was what I listened to in October, and I grouped all of the albums that were released in 1998 in that video. And for this video, I grouped all of the albums that I listened to in October that were released in 2024. That month, I specifically only listened to albums that were released in 1998 for my birthday project and albums that were released in 2024 because I was behind on my to-do list. And so now I'm only just sharing with you what I listened to in October. As you can see, we're back on the same tier list, but with our new additions to rank. If you're watching this, I assume you've watched my previous videos, so this will not seem like a very unfamiliar sight to you. And I will omit my explanation of my grading system in this video, but if you are curious or if you're new to watch, you're welcome to watch my previous videos that I released earlier in the year, where I do talk about how I grade a specific album in the context of this tier list. However, I hope that the tier list names are self-explanatory enough that you can still follow along. I don't have any musical theory background. I don't know a lot about music production and all of that, but if I know nothing else about music, I at least know how it makes me feel. I've also put timestamps in the description in case you want to skip to a specific album. So now that that's out of the way, let's get to what I listened to in October of 2024. By the way, today's band t-shirt is SZA from her Auckland show earlier this year. This is more or less in the order that I listened to. First, I listened to Brat, and it's completely different, but it's still Brat, by Charli XCX and other collaborators. So in this day and age, Charli XCX needs no introduction, but this wasn't necessarily the case 2 years ago or even last year. I live in like a stan Twitter bubble in such a way that I kind of assumed that everybody knew who Charli XCX was. She's not like Taylor Swift or Lady Gaga or Beyonce levels of pop star, but she has still released so much music over the decade. You can comfortably say that she's built a very strong and steady fan base, and I was very much a part of that fan base. I grew up in the Tumblr era where she released Boom Clap. I remember, oh my goodness, sorry, thinking about Boom Clap like brings back memories. You know, since then I've been keeping up with her music pretty religiously, but Brat has genuinely put Charli XCX in the limelight in a way that I always felt like she deserved. Is definitely a long time coming in my opinion. This album is the long-rumored and long-awaited remix album that features an incredibly eclectic range of collaborators, both in Charli XCX's musical circle and those who I feel like are definitely out of that circle. I think it's pretty safe to say that not even Charli XCX's most devout stans, me, ever like anticipated or expected Ariana Grande to be on the track list. Even more so seeing Bon Iver in the same track list. I've always loved that about Charli. I feel like even from her early career with her mixtapes, she had this very go-getter attitude in terms of collaborating with other people. You can see that in Pop 2, in Number One Angel, in Charli, her self-titled in 2019, which I loved, by the way. This remix album is exactly what I wanted from her. It's very interesting where some of the songs that were not my favorites in its original form, the remix versions of them I actually preferred more. So some examples would be B2B Back to Back, the original. It was good, but B2B featuring Tinashe, tasty, delicious, scrumptious. Girl So Confusing original, that was really good. But the Girl So Confusing remix featuring Lorde, Category 5 Mother Quake. I still remember being on Stan Twitter when it dropped because like every tweet back to back was about Lorde and Charli, and they were just like, it was just meme after meme, banger after banger joke about the song. So I'll never forget that. I was literally sitting in the dark. Like, I got the Girl So Confusing remix out first because we live in Auckland, New Zealand, so we get releases very early. And so I didn't see the tweets until like the next day. And obviously for them, they were like live tweeting it. To me, that's a cultural moment. Like Brat to me is like a significant cultural phenomenon. The wider global like context of pop music, but also in my personal life. Like, it's so serious for me. And you know what else is incredibly serious? Everything is Romantic original. Good. I grew to like it more. I liked it as a concept, but I think in execution, it was just a bit like very harsh and edgy for me. But I came around to it eventually. Everything is Romantic remix featuring Caroline Polachek. I literally cried the first time I listened to it. The Everything is Romantic remix featuring Caroline Polachek was my 7th most listened to song of 2024. So it was incredibly serious for me. It was incredibly serious for me. I personally think that the remix album is on par with the original in terms of quality. I think that everyone brought something very new and unique to the table. All of them matched Charli's energy in their own ways and in ways that were different to how other people matched Charli XCX's energy. So I really appreciate that. And it really opened my eyes to the potential that a remix album has. Like, I think I've listened to other remix albums before, but I think this is the first moment where I really felt that remix albums are a conversation, a dialogue that we as a listener, as the audience, are invited to. Like that, maybe that's what remix albums have been thought of in the past, but this is just my awakening to that idea. It's so incredibly serious for me, guys. I'm gonna put this in your endless material. And then I listened to Older and Wiser by Lizzy McAlpine, or Lizzy McAlpine. I'm going to go with Lizzy McAlpine. I knew very little about Lizzy McAlpine, just that she's one of the newest batch of soft-spoken female singer-songwriters. She blew up last year due to her viral song Ceilings, which I liked, but it also sort of made me feel like it was being shoved down my throat because it was a viral trending audio on Instagram Reels, and that kind of annoyed me. So because of that, I never really felt any particular positive feelings towards her. However, my friend whose music taste I greatly respect recommended I listen to Spring into Summer, and I was really completely obsessed with this song. So I decided to actually give her album a try. This is her second studio album. I specifically listened to the deluxe version, which has 4 new extra tracks, one of which is Spring into Summer. And to be honest, I was kind of disappointed by it. Spring into Summer was my 12th most listened to song of 2024, and I assumed that the rest of the album was going to be of the same quality, or I would feel the same way about other songs in the album the way I did with Spring into Summer, but that was just not the case. I definitely think her songwriting talents have a bit more potential than her other contemporaries that I've heard or tried, and there's definitely a level of sincerity that I really like and appreciate in her lyrics. Some of songs I felt partial to were, I guess, March, Vortex, and Soccer Practice. I also really like The Elevator. I find myself coming back to that one pretty frequently, but none of them really hold a candle to the shining, glittering gem that is Spring into Summer. I don't know what it is about that song. I think she like put crack in it or something, because I'm really obsessed with it. Like, my favorite part is when she goes, "Bridge over water, I am jumping off, taking a picture of all the people close to us, head below the surface, almost never certain of the truth. I'm always, forever, running back to you." It just kills me every time. Like, I just really love this song. But honestly, it's not enough to bump this entire project any higher than the most album ever. And then I listened to Nebula Romance Part 1 by Perfume. Perfume is a Japanese female idol pop group consisting of 3 members. I really love this group. I've been listening to a lot of their music before. If you've never heard of them, whoa, they have a huge discography. You are in for a treat. And it's so huge that I feel like I have not even scratched the surface of their output. This is Perfume's latest album, and while I enjoyed this, I think that this doesn't really hit as much as their previous projects charts have for me. I can't speak Japanese, so I can't even pronounce the titles of the songs, but my favorite track is track 9. I'm just gonna put this in Gems Found in the Mind. And then I listened to Vanishing Act 2 Ultimate Reality by Clarence Clarity. So Clarence Clarity is a producer who has worked with Rina Sawayama and Dorian Electra in the past. I like both artists, so I was kind of intrigued by this guy. I've never heard of him before embarking on this album. The lack of knowing who Clarence Clarity is dictated how I would eventually respond to the album, because I don't know or care about Clarence Clarity before listening to the album, and I'm not particularly curious about him even listening to the album afterwards, if that makes sense. Like, not to say that this doesn't have a personality or lots of good ideas. In fact, there is a lot of really good ideas and a lot of personality in there, so much so that I don't really know what to do with it. Ultimately, I think what stood in the way of me liking this is the way that I can't sing along. I really like music that I can sing along to, and the way that he uses his vocals in the project is more like an instrument rather than being the focus of the songs. And while that is a artistic decision that I respect, and on other people and other projects I've actually really liked how they've done that, I think in this project it just didn't really connect with me, and I'm totally fine with that. I think I just found the vocals too murky. I think if it was maybe put in the foreground a little bit, I would be able to enjoy what it is he's singing about. Regardless, I'm just gonna put this in Gems Found in the Mind. I thought it was still very really interesting, but none of the songs stood out to me. And then I listened to Smitten by the Pale Waves. Pale Waves is an English band from Manchester signed under Dirty Hit, the record company owned by Matty Healy of the 1975 fame, and is also the same company that manages Baby Doobie. So I listened to the Pale Waves' debut album like when it came out, and I liked it, but not really enough to go back and keep up with them explicitly. Smitten is the band's third studio album, and there's a distinct nostalgic rose-tinted feel to their music that feels really warm and comforting, so I really enjoyed that. It feels like the soundtrack of a romantic John Hughes movie. This is something I can see myself reaching for on afternoons where I want to feel free and pretend I'm the main character in a movie. My favorite songs are Glasgow, Not a Love Song, and my favorite is Perfume, which sounds like a love letter to the Cranberry songs like Dreams and Linger, so I really love that sound. I'm gonna put this in French Toast. I really liked it, but not enough to put it in Your Endless Material, obviously. And then I listened to 13-inch Frank Beltrame Italian Stiletto with Bison Horn Grips by Shushu. Shushu is an experimental American rock band. I have never heard of this band before, but it was getting really good reviews, and my friend even recommended it. So I was like, okay, my curiosity is piqued. And this album is definitely a collection of sounds that attempt to convey certain ideas and messages. And that's all I can really say about it. I'm going to put this in At Least I Learned Something New. And then I listened to Lose Yourself by Kiss of Life. Kiss of Life is a K-pop girl group, and they are definitely having their year in 2024. They hit the landing on their debut song last year with Sh, which really earned their title of a monster rookie. In April of 2024, they released Midas Touched. I loved it. In July, they released Sticky. I also loved it. And now their third song, Get Loud, proves that they are definitely not running out of steam anytime soon. Out of the three 2024 singles, I have to say that I liked Get Loud the least, and in fact, it's easy to see how Igloo, the second single of the album, overshadowed it. It just has more oomph and potential for virality, especially paired with the sassy choreography. This EP, or album, I'm not really sure, is a decent length for a K-pop project. It remains quite cohesive project despite its admittedly very short songs, which is a plague that I am getting really frustrated with. The group continues to lean into their strengths. I could easily picture the company's mood board when they were making this album to feature Ariana Grande during her Seven Rings era, especially since her and Belle have really similar vocal tones, and Julie has a very distinct and really feminine, confident, and edgy way of delivering her lines that lend itself very well to a pop trap vibe as seen in songs like Igloo. So I was really impressed by the project. I'm gonna put this in Gems Found in the Mind. Aside from Igloo, none of the tracks really stood out to me or were particularly memorable. And to be honest, this pop trap, pop R&B sound is not really my go-to anyways, but I really appreciate how well they executed this concept. And then I listened to Quantum Baby by Tinashe. Tinashe is an American pop R&B singer that has been grinding for years and is generally beloved by dancers everywhere. In 2024, she took the world by storm with her viral hit song Nasty after it debuted in Coachella and after a meme of it went viral and it became a trending audio. I was really obsessed with Nasty. It was my ninth most listened to song of 2024, and I was pretty excited for the album. Quantum Baby was a lot more low-key in the first half than I expected, but that was kind of signaled by the second single she released to tease the album's release, Getting No Sleep. Now, my favorite songs are Nasty and No Broke Boys, which are just really fun, confident songs that elevate my mood and self-esteem on the days where I need it the most. I also really like Cross That Line. However, I found this project actually pretty short, not just in terms of the length, but just like in terms of how many tracks there are. I wish there was more meat on the bones, so to speak. So because of that, I'm gonna put this in Gems Found in the Mind. And lastly, I listened to The Great Impersonator by Halsey. So Halsey is an American singer-songwriter that I was first introduced to in 2015-2016 through her Badlands concept album that took over Tumblr and the hearts of teenage girls everywhere except mine. I was never really a Halsey girl. I wasn't interested in her music, even though I did hear some of it just by being in a space where everybody loves Halsey. But the promotions for this project really impressed me and piqued my curiosity in a way that no other musician has this year. The concept was so unique and ambitious that I couldn't help but be excited for how she was going to pull this off. I've only listened to one song before this album dropped, and it was Lonely is the Muse. That was really good. Like, that was one of my favorites of that ended up becoming one of my favorites of the album. But that song definitely poured gasoline on the fires of my anticipation even more. I have this rule where I only listen to maximum 2 singles for an album because I don't like being spoiled, and typically I only stick to the one, and that usually leads to really good results because I end up going into the album with my heart and mind completely open. And wow, this album was really good. It was everything that I wanted and more. It's steeped in this really simmering anxiety, and it's full of spiraling thoughts about mortality, love, and loss. It's so poignant and it made me feel so comforted, but also made me confront things in a way that very few pieces of art this year have. I don't really have the words to explain what this album even means to me right now. I'll say that for a different video where I have my scattered thoughts better articulated. But my favorite songs for this were honestly The Only Girl in LA, Ego, which I loved, and my favorite song is Lucky. Lucky was my second most listened to song of the year, and I heard it in October. Like, that's like, wrap your head around that. And that's it. Let's look at my tier list as it stands right now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. I'd love to hear from you guys what your thoughts were on any of the albums that I mentioned in this video. You are welcome to subscribe so you don't miss my next basically the video where I cover what I listened to in November and December. My social media links are down in the description alongside my Ko-fi and Patreon pages if you want to support my work. Otherwise, I can't wait to share my love with you again next time. I'll see you soon. From down and still somehow reach life's illusions. I recall I really don't know clouds.